You call it stability, but it's not stability. It's stagnation. This video is about the difference between actually being stable and just being stuck in a comfortable place you've mistaken for progress. If you've been calling something stable when it's actually just safe, subscribe. We explore stagnation and quiet growth every Tuesday and Friday. Let me tell you about someone who thought he was stable. He had a good job, a routine that worked, relationships that were fine, a life that was comfortable. And when people asked how things were going, he said, "Good, stable, can't complain." And he believed it. But here's what he didn't see. He'd been saying the same thing for 3 years. 3 years of stable, 3 years of can't complain, 3 years of things being fine. And nothing had changed. Not his job, not his relationships, not his growth, not his challenges. He wasn't stable, he was stuck. But he couldn't see it, because stagnation doesn't announce itself as stagnation. It disguises itself as something better. It calls itself stability, security, being responsible, being realistic, being grateful for what you have. And you believe it, because those sound like good things. But here's the difference. Stability means you've built something solid that allows you to grow from a secure foundation. Stagnation means you've stopped moving and called it being grounded. Stability is active. It's something you maintain while still progressing. Stagnation is passive. It's something that happens when you mistake comfort for contentment. And most people can't tell the difference because they both feel the same from the inside. They both feel safe. They both feel predictable. They both feel like you've figured something out. But one is a foundation and the other is a cage. Here's how you know which one you're in. Ask yourself, am I choosing to stay because this supports my growth? Or am I staying because leaving feels too hard? Because that's the difference. Stability is a choice you make because it serves you. Stagnation is a default you accept because changing feels overwhelming. Stability says, I'm staying here because this is the right place for me right now and it's helping me become who I want to be. Stagnation says, I'm staying here because it's easier than figuring out what else I could do. One is intentional, the other is avoidance. Here's what happened to him. Someone asked him, "What are you working toward?" And he didn't have an answer. Not because he was content, but because he'd stopped thinking about it. He'd been so focused on maintaining what he had, keeping things stable, keeping things safe, keeping things predictable, that he'd forgotten to ask if what he was maintaining was actually worth maintaining. And that's when he realized, I'm not stable, I'm just here. I've been here for 3 years, and I'll probably be here for 3 more if I don't change something. This isn't stability, this is stagnation with a better name. Here's what stagnation looks like when you're living inside it. You're not unhappy, but you're not excited either. You're not struggling, but you're not progressing either. You're not failing, but you're not growing either. You're just existing in a place that's comfortable enough that you don't feel urgency to leave, but not fulfilling enough that you feel alive. And every time you think about changing something, you tell yourself, but things are stable, why would I risk that? And that's how stagnation keeps you. It convinces you that staying is wise, that staying is mature, that staying is the responsible thing to do. But stability doesn't fear change. Stagnation does. Stability says, I'm secure enough to take risks. Stagnation says, I can't risk anything because I might lose what I have. Stability is confident. Stagnation is defensive. And if you're defending your life instead of building it, you're not stable, you're stuck. So here's the test. If you removed the fear of change, would you still choose to stay exactly where you are? If someone handed you a guarantee that trying something new wouldn't fail, would you still stay in this job, this relationship, this city, this version of yourself? If the answer is no, if you'd leave the second it felt safe to leave, then you're not choosing stability. You're tolerating stagnation. And the longer you tolerate it, the more you convince yourself it's something else. You call it being realistic, being responsible, being grateful. But what you're actually doing is protecting yourself from the discomfort of growth by pretending that staying still is a form of wisdom. Here's what he did. He didn't blow up his life. He didn't quit everything and start over. He just stopped pretending that stable meant he was done growing. He asked himself, what would I be working toward if I wasn't afraid of disrupting what I have? And once he had an answer, he started moving toward it, slowly, intentionally, without abandoning what was actually stable. But he stopped using stability as an excuse to avoid the discomfort of becoming something more. Because stability isn't the absence of change, it's the foundation that allows you to change safely. And if your stability won't let you grow, it's not stability, it's stagnation. Here's what you need to understand. Stagnation feels like stability because they're both comfortable. But one is a place you've built to grow from, and the other is a place you've settled into because growing feels too uncertain. And if you're not growing, you're not stable. You're just stuck in a place that's comfortable enough that you've stopped asking if it's where you actually want to be. The question isn't, is my life stable? The question is my stability serving my growth, or is it preventing it? If you've been stuck but calling it something else, I made a video about recognizing stagnation even when it doesn't feel like stagnation. Link right here. See you there.